So I got to play Spider-Man 2 early, and I got to see a bunch of stuff, from new swinging mechanics to the entire map. I got to check out some story stuff, and I have a lot to talk about. Pardon the backdrop here, I am traveling. I've been on the road, checking out some other games and doing things behind the scenes, and one of the things was Sony and Insomniac held a Spider-Man 2 press media event where we could check out the game early. I wasn't paid by like Sony or Insomniac to like fly out and see it. I came of my own accord, so I could say whatever I want about this game, but I guess lucky for them, I'm an easy mark for Spider-Man. I really like Spider-Man. Check out my video about the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, or Spider-Man PS4, of course. I've talked about so many times. It's like one of my favorite games ever. I got to play a lot of Spider-Man 2. Over 2 hours, I think. I really took the time to squeeze every single minute I could out of this thing. I stayed to the very end of the event just to get as much as I could in. And I got some cool things to share. And just so you know, no spoilers. Everything I'm talking about is pretty early in the game. It's not the beginning of the game, but it's kind of the setup, and it's going to be revealed in trailers and stuff. So there's that. But the biggest takeaway right off the bat for me, the thing I was hoping for the most, was that it continues what Spider-Man PS4 and Miles Morales really figured out. How to tell a really good Spider-Man story. I think Insomniac really freaking gets it. And it seems like they're still doing that, and that's good. So this is like 9 months after the events of the Miles Morales game, and it has the characters in interesting places. From where I got to see it, I didn't get to see the beginning of the game, but I got to see a point where Peter Parker has the symbiote, but also Harry Osborn is back in the picture after a long absence, so I got to see a lot of Peter and his friend Harry being friends again, kind of rekindling that, but also doing like science stuff, and it's like Peter and his rich kid friend. The dynamic seems interesting. I'm still not sure about this Harry, so to speak, but it seems like there's something there, and also Norman is still in the picture, and it was good to see him show up for a bit. He looks a little bit different. I don't know what the deal is with that, if it's like the same thing as Peter Parker's face. I don't know what's happening there, but Peter and Harry are working on a little science mystery thing, tracking things down, and it's funny, like right away in the demo, I immediately got hit with a science puzzle on a computer screen, sequencing DNA. Like, it's just like the previous games where like it'll throw you into these weird puzzles. Their puzzles are different. I will give them that. They are unique. I just hope they aren't as repetitious as last time. It was really funny to immediately jump into the game, and that was one of the first things I was doing. I also got to see, and like you're probably gonna see some of this stuff in like the PlayStation Direct video and stuff and the trailers, like I got to see Kraven and Peter Parker showdown stuff, and it's Kraven in the bell tower with symbiote Peter, and the imagery was incredible there. Kraven is giving a hell of a performance. There were a couple of moments where he gets right in Peter's face and he's like, you are a man, but you are a beast. I was losing my mind. Perfect. But then on the flip side, jump to Miles Morales, who at this point, after the events of his game, is kind of like figured out his Spider-Man thing. He knows what he's doing. He is peak Miles Morales Spidey, absolutely. But he's going through like a, what do I do, like my college essay. Like, he's got regular kid problems, and that's nice to see. That's part of Spider-Man. But he's still going through the events of the previous games, and I got to see an extended scene with him and his mom, and about Herman Lee still being out there, and like what Miles wants. He can't let it go, and he's got this kind of angst about everything. And it just showed me that like the game is still doubling down on like emotional, human, good scenes, interesting shit. And one interesting thing, Miles is rocking Royals. I mean, not technically Jordan 1 Royals, like they don't have the Nike swoosh, but like it's the colorway. Like it was clear. I was like, oh, that's my favorite sneaker. Very cool. So the shoe game representation is still there. Also, Robbie Robertson shows up. Very cool. He chimes in with Miles at certain points. That was like, I saw Robbie pop up and I was like, yeah. But playing the game, so I got to play, apparently there are going to be 2 modes. There's going to be a performance mode and a fidelity mode. The build I got to play, which was technically an older build, you know, with some bugs and stuff that still need to be worked out, normal stuff at this state. I got to play in fidelity mode. And the game did look really damn good. The most interesting thing for me, it wasn't really the visuals, because at this point, like if you played Spider-Man Remastered and Miles Morales on PS5, like the cities are denser, there's more detail, so like it has a lot of that going. But the thing I noticed the most is really the color palette. It's a different time of year, and you're seeing the city in different colors and different times of day, and that makes a hell of a difference. Where those games were big, cinematic, dramatically lit and the skyboxes and everything. This is very much more the bright, colorful one, and not in a cartoony way, but it's just like bright sunlight, seemingly like summer or spring or something like that. And it just meant that like the color, the lights, everything really popped. Like it's not something I would normally bring up, but like the fact that it was noticeable, I'm going to. But the combat is like so crazy now. This is where the game is a sequel. And by that, I mean, there's just more stuff because it's a sequel. It's bigger, badder. And this is the one thing where I don't know. So combat now feels almost a little bit too insane, too crazy. There's so much more to manage. You have all your web blaster powers by holding the trigger and pressing a button, one of the face buttons. Then you have holding the other trigger and pressing a face button to do these big special attacks. So with Miles, of course, it tends to be like an expansion of his unique abilities. And on the Peter side, it is either the tentacles that come out of his advanced suit, or it is tendril symbiote stuff. Those attacks are really incredible. Like it'll be like an AoE thing where you grab a bunch of people with tendrils and slam them down. You can single out one and hit them with a big like black venom goo blast. There's a big ground smash. There's a lot. And there's also just like a lot of shit. There's more enemy types, more things to worry about. There's now some attacks that you just can't, like, you have to deal with in certain ways more so. There's also now a parry. Like, you can press L1 right before a special type of attack to literally king and parry somebody. So it's that. It's not really like Arkham, like he's not grabbing someone's fist and snapping their arm around. It's more just like that. You know, very technical terms to describe the games here. But so there's that, and then there's certain attacks that you cannot parry. So it was, and everything was like a different color. So there was a lot to process at once. And I guess on a good side is like I did get my ass beat, kind of. Like there was a boss battle with the lizard, and it's like the lizard on like crack. Like he's way more amped up because of some things behind the scenes, some story stuff. And the boss fight was really cool, but like when there's a lot of enemy types, there's these new annoying robot dog types, like it just felt extremely chaotic and not as precise as Spider-Man PS4 could be. Like maybe I still need to get used to all the mechanics and stuff because I was just thrown in to the game. It wasn't the intro, it was like a little bit in, but it just felt like I couldn't be as precise and get like a perfect run like I could in Spidey PS4 just because there's so many elements and things happening all at once that it made things feel kind of messy. It's not like a massive red flag or anything, but like if you're looking for me to be critical of some things, that's one of the things I can mention. Also, I was getting my ass kicked, and I did notice that suit damage shows up on your character. Like you'll see little scrapes and nicks on the suit. They'll go away after a while, but they actually look really cool. Also, the suits themselves just look really cool graphically. On a positive note, I was able to, or I don't know if I was like allowed too much, but like I went to every single end of the map where I could just to really see things. So like, yes, the city is more detailed in certain spots, but then of course there is a little bit of Brooklyn and Queens to the right over the river, which is very cool. You get to see like Williamsburg, kind of Long Island City, Astoria, and I was excited to see that. So I jumped over there immediately just to see what was going on as a person who lives in the greater New York area. And the feel is, you know, it's like a sterile feel for those areas, but that's kind of how Spider-Man PS4's New York was. Like, it is a great representation. Like, you can kind of get the landmarks, a sense of the place is really good, but it's not one-to-one completely. So there's that, but like then there's other aspects where like the train I take to commute into the city, like I was able to see where that line comes in and roughly identify the same buildings in Queens. That I like to see that. So it was like just the right, it was pretty much what I expected after spending so much time with the previous Spider-Man game, New York map. But the gap between them is pretty big. Those bridges are long and you can manually swing across them. And I chose to do that a lot. But there's also the whole wingsuit thing now. And the wingsuit thing is about pressing triangle to activate, you know, your little web wings to glide on the air. And then you can pick up wind tunnels through the city to zip around the city much faster. You can duck out of these wind tunnels at any time and go up and do a backflip and then flip into webbing. But the wind tunnel thing seems to be the main mode of getting around now quickly, because the city is really big. But I almost don't like being tempted with that type of thing, because that's easy mode. I've talked about this so many times. I'm sorry if I'm a broken record, but I play these games for the web swinging, for the Spider-Man fantasy. I've talked so many times about how I just keep the game downloaded on my Steam Deck, on my PlayStation, just so I can fire it up and go for a swing and live that Spider-Man feeling for a while. I've done it with every single Spider-Man game, even the bad ones, because I just like that thrill. Obviously, the newer games are really good experiences for that, but I found myself resorting to the wind tunnel sometimes naturally because it was easier to get places, and it made me swing a little less, and that bummed me out. So once I was conscious of that, I tried to avoid it sometimes. It's good to take a wind tunnel across the river to get to the other boroughs, but I liked swinging under the bridges, and I was trying to swing around and over the bridges and stuff, and because that's just the type of that's what I like from these games. Two other quick takeaways: the fast travel stuff is pretty wild to see in real life. Essentially switching from one character to the other or doing a fast travel type thing basically results in a quick zoom through the city, and then suddenly you're there. It's pretty nuts. The tech is really, really cool to see in action. They showed it off in the trailer, but I got to confirm seeing that in real time too. Another nitpick is the UI stuff. So, they have their own AR systems, the Spidey lenses. So, you click the right stick and you'll see a lot of stuff, but now it's just so much more on screen. There's always blinking things and crazy shit popping up in the city, where in the previous game, it was a little bit more like you were swinging and there was the city in front of you, and it was the magic and the beauty of it all. But now it's a sequel, so there's more stuff. So you're gonna be seeing that stuff in your face quite a bit. Also, when you're out in the world doing open world stuff, I wish I spent more time with side quests. I couldn't cover as much of those as I wanted because I was doing dumb stuff like trying to mess with the swing. But sometimes when you're out there and you're responding to the random crimes, you'll actually, if you're playing as Peter, you'll come across Miles mid-crime fight, and you could jump in and complete it and do little combo moves together and shit. That's really cool. But there are a lot more types of activities to do. The devs walked us through a couple of them. I'm not sure how compelling they're going to be, how repetitive they're going to be compared to the previous games. That was obviously one of the bigger complaints of it. I didn't get to experiment too much with the side quest stuff because I was just trying to swing to the tallest end of Queens I could. But doing all that stuff means it helps with your upgrades and the progression and stuff, because Peter has his own upgrade track, Miles has his own upgrade track, and then there's a shared one between you where you it's kind of the main abilities that they would both have. And that stuff seems pretty good to work through. I got to experiment and dig into quite a bit of it. Then there's still the gadget upgrades and the power upgrades and all that stuff, expand your abilities. But I'm happy to say I was able to get a little wild with the web swinging. That's what I was trying to do. So, new moves. Yes, well, first of all, the animations. Do you remember going from Spider-Man PS4 and then playing Miles Morales, and Miles just having so much more fluidity and fun and lightness to his animations, and it just felt like a big leap, you were whoa. It kind of is that again, which is great. Peter, especially now, has so much more expressiveness to his swinging, and it's really, really cool to see. Aerial tricks are still in, they're super smooth, they definitely look even more seamless this time around, but it was the other moves and stuff that I unlocked. The two biggest ones I wanted to highlight was one where you can dive straight down, and while you're diving straight down, you hold the right trigger, and if you can attach to a proper point, you can web swing. So watch my hand, you can web swing, right? And web swing, but instead of letting go, you can hold on and swing completely around and go woof again. So I don't have a good way of explaining that, but you can whoa like that. Again, these are my technical terms. So that allows for you to clear a lot more distance, gain a lot more momentum than I expected to have in this game. Then there's also kind of when you're right trigger running, wall running on a building, and if you hold circle, he'll do that little web thwip, and hard right, turn that corner and keep wall running if you hold it. There's now a web swinging equivalent to that. So while you're web swinging, if you hold L1 and circle and the direction of where you're going, Spider-Man will essentially do like a hard horizontal web thwip turn. So essentially you can hard right down streets, which is very cool, but you can also hold that button down and swing for a longer time around. What you can also do though, because I experimented, I went up to the top of the Empire State Building, as one does, and I did that move. I attached to the spire of the Empire State Building with that hard right, and I was able to swing this way around the Empire State Building and then let go and clear a good portion of the city. The momentum that I gained from that was pretty cool. Maybe a little too much, maybe I broke it a little bit, but I was able to do that and then dive down and chain to one of those big loop-de-loop let-goes, and I was flying. I didn't need no wingsuit, and I was happy. So to be able to experiment and mess around with more web swinging stuff made me happy. The story sequences, the stuff I got to see, definitely still had, like, I'm an easy mark for this game. Obviously, I'm gonna play it. I like what they do with these. But yeah, it definitely feels like a bigger, crazier sequel. Again, they're tackling a lot of villains. I have a lot of theories, especially in terms of like what we've seen already and what they're hiding from us, but I'm gonna keep that to myself. That's all speculation. But I still, like many of you, have more questions. Like, I didn't have everything answered. It wasn't totally clear to see like how the story stuff with the symbiote suit would work and like switching back and forth. There are suits, there are new costumes and stuff, and you can like unlock them, and then you unlock a suite of different flavors of them. And then of course I did get to see like some of those suits have their own exclusive kind of little details or little animation things. Like one Spider-Man suit has kind of like robotic wings that pop out when you web glide. So there's a lot there, but I'm just curious to see where this thing goes, how big this game could possibly be. The map is really big. I'm curious to see how much time they're gonna let us spend in Brooklyn and Queens. You know, like, I'm hoping that there are moments like how in Miles we got to spend a lot more time in Harlem and they were able to kind of break out that area a little bit. When you do go to Harlem now in this one, you do see the kind of the aftermath of the events of Miles Morales, which is cool. But yeah, I'm curious to see how much time we'll spend in those boroughs, how significant they are. And I have so many questions, clearly, still. But those are just some impressions from playing an early version of the game. Again, it's not definitive. I'm not saying like it's going to be the best game ever. I still have questions. It does feel very sequel-y, but I want to know what you guys think. If you've been watching preview content, other people, if you watch the new trailer reveals and stuff, let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any questions. I really think I covered almost everything I could, but if you have little specific questions that I didn't answer here, I tried to, leave them for me, and I'll answer what I can. There's a lot of things I don't have answers to, but I'll try my best. Thank you for clicking on a video where I get to talk about Spider-Man. It's like one of my favorite parts of my job. Thank you guys for being here. If you like what I'm doing here on this channel, I'm just talking about stuff I love, stuff that interests me, whereas Game Ranks, we get a little more serious sometimes. So clicking the like button helps me. But that's really it. I'm Jake Baldino. Subscribe because video games, pizza's on me.